Russian President Vladimir Putin attended the commissioning of a new nuclear-powered submarine on Thursday, a visit that showcased the country's nuclear might amid the fighting in Ukraine. According to Associated Press, at the Sevmash shipyard in Severodvinsk in Russia's northwestern Archangelsk region, Putin oversaw raising the Navy's flag on the newly built Knyaz Pozharsky nuclear submarine, emphasizing his focus on bolstering Russia's strategic naval forces. Speaking at the shipyard, Putin pledged to carry out plans to modernize the Russian Navy. The Knyaz Pozharsky is the 8th Borei-class atomic-powered submarine to enter service. Each of them is armed with 16 nuclear-tipped Bulava intercontinental ballistic missiles. Putin announced that 2 more such submarines are under construction. They are part of Russia's nuclear triad, which also includes land-based nuclear missiles and nuclear-armed strategic bombers. Separately, he expressed his sincere condolences after a plane crashed in the Far East region, killing all those on board.
Это уже 5-й серийный ракетоносец проекта «Борей-А», который поставлен в ВМФ за последние 6 лет. Такие корабли составляют основу морских стратегических ядерных сил. И с учетом модернизационного ресурса будут обеспечивать безопасность нашего государства в предстоящие десятилетия. Обязательно и в полном объеме реализуем намеченные планы по созданию современного военно-морского флота. Обеспечим безопасность России и наши национальные интересы во всех районах Мирового океана. В этом не может быть никаких сомнений.
Подъем военно-морского флага готов. Разрешите приступить? Разрешаю.
Сегодня в Амурской области произошло крушение гражданского воздушного судна. Десятки человек погибли. И я хочу выразить слова искреннего сочувствия и соболезнования родным, близким, всем семьям погибших в этой авиакатастрофе.
Against the backdrop of sweltering heat of plus 36 degrees, a real humanitarian catastrophe has begun in Donbass. Even Russian military propagandists admit that the Russian occupation administration is to blame. In Donetsk, residents are openly appealing to Putin to intervene in the water supply situation, which, according to them, has turned into a humanitarian and ecological catastrophe. It is characteristic that the text of the letter was first published by Russian military propagandists, those who usually hide any failures of the Russian Federation. Now even they cannot keep silent about the obvious. The cry from the heart of local residents was published by the Russian Z channel Bluebeard. According to the authors of the appeal, Donetsk has not had a stable water supply since 2022. The schedule is getting worse. Now they plan to give it once every 3 days. At the same time, it is so muddy and dirty that it is unsuitable for either food or hygiene. The water does not reach the upper floors. The elderly and families with children carry buckets from the basements. The prices for bottled water are exorbitant, 5 rubles per liter, which is twice as expensive as in occupied Mariupol or Rostov. At the same time, the water pipeline from the Don, which was built as a solution, provides only 6% of the needs. Residents say directly, this is not a water blockade of Ukraine, but the result of corruption, negligence and deception on the part of the Russian occupation administration. In the absence of water, the authorities continue to promise new houses, fill fountains, promise production growth at metallurgical plants. All this is perceived as mockery of the population. The letter addressed to Putin contains specific demands: to investigate the inaction of local officials, introduce a state of emergency, build a second branch of the water pipeline, and revise tariffs. This is not just ridiculous, it is a mockery, the statement says. People write, "We don't just ask, we shout." Ukrainian journalist Knyaz Pozharsky responded to this simply and harshly. "I have a simple recipe for solving the problem. Get the fuck out of Donbass. Ukraine will return, and normal life will return with it. There was no water catastrophe until you came. The catastrophe came with Russia." Against the backdrop of the heat and the decline of infrastructure, the situation in Donetsk is becoming unbearable, and even Russia itself can no longer pretend that everything is going according to plan. The Ukrainian Air Force has received the first unique mobile complexes for servicing F-16 fighter jets. This will allow for the most effective use of aircraft during wartime, according to the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The mobile complexes were developed, purchased, and transferred to the Air Force by the Come Back Alive charitable foundation, together with the Ministry of Defense and with the support of state-owned company Ukronafta. As part of an initiative called Project 61, a unique mobile ecosystem was created that meets the real needs of the front lines. The complexes significantly increase aviation mobility in wartime conditions when Russian troops are hunting down aircraft and airfields. There are 3 key modules: Mission Planning Complex, a mobile base for pre-flight briefings for pilots and escorting aircraft in the near zone. 2 aviation weapon preparation systems speed up the inspection and preparation of ammunition and simplify its attachment to the aircraft. Previously, it took 10 to 12 people to attach a single piece of ammunition. Thanks to this complex, it can now be done by 3 people, says Sahi, a project representative. Ukrainian Air Force adds that financial support for the project was provided by Ukronafta, which contributed almost $1.2 million USD. The Netherlands, Denmark, and Belgium have become the leaders of an aviation coalition working to transfer F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. In July 2024, the Netherlands officially completed the procedure for authorizing the export of 24 combat aircraft to Ukraine. In August, information appeared that the first F-16s had arrived in the Ukrainian Air Force, but details about the number of aircraft and the countries that transferred them were not disclosed. That same month, Ukraine lost the first of the fighter jets it had received. This happened during the repulsion of a massive Russian attack on August the 26th. The crash killed experienced Ukrainian pilot Oleksiy Mess, call sign Moonfish. At the end of last year, President Vladimir Zelenski announced that a second batch of F-16s had arrived in Ukraine from Denmark. At the beginning of the year, Zelensky announced new deliveries of F-16s after talks with Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof.